What's happening, you guys? My name is Aaron Selburg. With me, as always, is Jeremy Reed, and welcome back to another episode of Style Sessions, a podcast dedicated to helping you curate and cultivate your own personal individual style. What's happening?
Hey, not much, man. How are you? That's I'm glad you have to do the intros and I don't. It's so much easier, you know. And just as before we get into it today, the original floated name that we had,
Yes,
was
Sartorialist Survival Guide.
Yeah. Which
it's
a
really, bit of a mouthful. Yeah.
It is. I mean, I really love it because being a sartorialist is awesome. I mean, it's a cool word. It's fun to say, but gosh, it would be hard to get us into it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, too, is that, like, Alyssa, my wife, brought this up to me, and she goes, most people don't know what that means.
Yeah, no.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess that's true. And she's like, so if it's a guy who isn't into fashion and he finds your podcast and they don't know what any of that means, they're not going to listen to it.
Which at the end of the day, it's really, I mean, but it's kind of what we want to be. We want to be the sartorialist for the everyday guy.
Right.
Without talking way above them or anything like that, but giving them the knowledge they need.
Right.
And also, not being contentious or like pretentious, I guess, right? Like we're not really that way in real life.
Right.
So why would we do it? So, but anyways, so if you ever hear us say sartorialist, that's what it is.
Yeah.
We literally are. That's, what we do and what we like to do. But
yeah, so I mean the definition of a sartorialist is somebody who's into clothes, basically. Right. I mean, and that's us. That's what we are. So I think that Style Sessions is I think it's a better name,
it's
honestly.
More palatable. It's more palatable, right?
And that's what it is. We're having a 45-minute style session. We're talking about style, and that's where we're at. So, but today's topic, before we get into style and all that stuff, we have to lay the groundwork, especially for those novices who've never been into men's clothing or suits or anything like that. Guys who are just kind of getting started. This week's topic is dress codes.
Yeah, which anybody that's ever been employed has had to deal with dress codes or went to a function, a wedding, or a fundraiser or something of that nature. There's always a dress code, sometimes assumed, sometimes
assumed.
Yeah, sometimes assumed. And the reality of it is a lot of folks don't know what dress codes might be.
Right.
And then even if they were to be told what the dress code is, they might not know what that means.
Right.
And as I said, so I've had That Guy's Secret for 5 years now, and that has been a common question for all 5 years. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
I can only imagine.
It's just a reality. People are like, oh, well, what does this mean? What can I wear?
Yeah.
My boss said I could wear this.
Right.
This code.
Right.
Folks don't know what it means.
Right.
And
when we talk about dress code, I personally am not talking about like, oh, well, I can't wear a T-shirt with a big marijuana leaf to work. Like, that's not quite exactly what we're talking about. Or like if you're like, oh, I have to wear a uniform to work, that's different.
Right.
Totally different.
It's just the general classes of different style, I guess, or different level of appropriateness for events.
Right. So I guess it's realistically, it's like when we're talking about dress codes, we're talking about like what attire can I wear for said event.
Yeah, and look the part. Right. And be the part. And that really goes back to who we are as a business and a company, right? Is if you look the part, you're more confident. Right. You feel good about yourself because you belong wherever you're at. It's not, I always say this, and I've had if I'm going to err and miss the mark, so to speak, I usually try to miss the mark on the high side.
Right.
I'm a golfer, so we always talk about missing on the pro side or missing, the pro side's missing on the high side. So, so if you're going to miss the dress code or the dress attire of that event, I always feel like it's better to aim high and show up overdressed than show up underdressed.
I was just going to say that. It's always better to be overdressed than underdressed.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to show up in your cargo shorts and T-shirt and everybody else is wearing a suit. You're gonna look silly. People are gonna be like, "What are you doing?"
I've been to quite a few funerals that we're showing up in graphic tees and a cargo short, and it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
what's happening?
And I have to, and sometimes it's because of lack, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You and I at some episode, we will talk about that, about how you can dress on the cheap if you need to. Obviously, we promote ourselves, right? I mean, we're a business. We are here to make money. you and I both have had times where we have found a lot of great outfits on a discount.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And still looked great.
Yeah.
Still looked the part. And it's possible. So we'll get into that at some episodes. But today we're more focused on overall dress codes and dress attire for events and stuff.
So I would say let's start with like some of the more common ones,
sure,
right? And the reality is that what's crazy to me is doing research for this is how much the misconception of certain dress codes has changed the landscape of our industry. Sure. You know what I mean?
Agree, 100%.
So the first one for me is like black tie.
Yeah,
black tie / black tie optional, whatever. They kind of fall in the same category, I think.
I agree.
And again, it boils down to, you know, like the hat, like what do you have that kind of works for that, right? So black tie typically, and we'll kind of explain this here, is black tie is, you know, obviously black tie is the most, like, not the most formal, but it's a formal attire. So it's tuxedo, black bow tie, white shirt, studs, you know, a whole 9 yards. And a lot of guys don't really understand that. And I think that's where black tie optional comes in.
And okay. And it's a soapbox of mine. So let me hop on that for a second.
Absolutely. Climb up there.
Let me jump on that box. I get it that folks love using the phrase black tie optional.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
The reality of it is the majority of people do not know what that means.
Right.
There's days I don't even know if I know what it means. And I say that. I say that with all sincerity, and I say it with a bit of a chuckle. But here's the reality. We've all, maybe we haven't, maybe you're just getting into it, but at some point in time, you're going to have someone send you an invitation to an event that says black tie optional.
Yeah.
Now, all that does, in my opinion, is breed a huge amount of misconception to what you can and cannot or should wear to this event.
Right.
Unfortunately, if someone sends you something that says black tie optional, that means the majority of the folks are going to be wearing black tie.
It's almost as though they should change it from black tie optional to black tie preferred.
And that's exactly what they should do. It's exactly what they should do. It's 100% what they should do. It's so frustrating to me that, and I have weddings that, you know, they send that invitation out, and then I have, you know, clients come into the store and they're like,
right,
yeah, I got this. It says black tie optional. I don't know what that means. And I'm like, well, that means, and then, you know, then I jump into this spill and I go, the word optional is really not, it's not an option. It's not.
It's not used correctly in that
It's not.
situation.
It's what they want you to wear is black tie.
Right.
You know, so at any time you get one of those invitation folks, understand that usually means the guest of honor or whoever's hosting would prefer you to be dressed up. I would say probably the most that you would ever get dressed up.
Right.
And I guess, and I know we got an agenda, but just to where it's easier to talk about throughout the day. So black tie is, I would say, what, second from the very tippy top?
Yeah.
White tie is tippy top, right?
Right.
Folks, we don't ever talk white tie. We will talk about it today a little bit just to talk about it. The reality of you ever wearing white tie is low.
Unless you're meeting the queen.
Right. You know, so
or going to the opera or
you
something.
got white
like
tie, you got black tie, you got like business.
Right.
Business casual, and then
smart casual. I've got a list.
We got that. But that's kind of where we're talking, folks. But so black tie is like the second highest, most likely the highest that most of us will ever get into.
Right.
So saying that, just assume that if it says optional, you should do black tie.
Just wear a black tie. It's fine. Okay. Just wear black tie.
Now, Aaron says it, but it does not mean just literally wear a black tie.
Right. Just the black tie.
So let's talk about
and your sacks.
Let's. We're gonna have that ad out later. It's gonna be us two and underwear and ties. That's it.
Just black ties.
A bow tie, of course. Obviously. I mean, I want to leave this whole body out. Right. So let's give. I guess. Do you want to talk about black tie a little bit? Do we want to say exactly what it is? Like, what is the overall broad view of black tie?
So black tie would be, in my opinion, would be a full black tuxedo.
Sure.
Shawl collar or a peak lapel. I really like notch lapel is more of a suit to me. Like I know that's a big popular thing is a notch lapel tuxedo, and a tuxedo basically for a lot of guys who don't know it's a wool suit basically, but with the satin lapel, satin stripe down the pant leg.
Right. Which to be fair, most tuxedos have done away with the satin stripe down the tuxedo pant.
Yep.
And they still qualify as a tuxedo.
Right.
But to be a tuxedo, you do have to have that satin lapel or at least a satin window trim.
Right.
You did say about the peak lapel and shawl.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain to our listeners a little bit what that means, kind of in a description of words?
So a shawl collar basically is, instead of like a suit where it's a separated lapel from the collar piece, which is the top part of the jacket that goes around your neck, a shawl collar basically is one continuous piece from the collar all the way down to the button, and then and it's just rounded. There's no, and if you guys are really interested, I'll post pictures on Instagram and stuff like that. And this will be on video too, so we can insert some shots of that too. But it's basically a one piece satin that goes all the way down to the button. And it's think like James Bond in the 60s. Yeah. Sean Connery, he always wore a shawl collar. Yep. Daniel Craig wore a shawl collar. And
main thing is there's no seam right up here.
Yeah, there's no seam. And then peak lapel is, instead of a notch lapel, which you see on most suits nowadays.
That's the common one.
The peak lapel, basically where it would be, the seam would be, it goes back up towards the shoulder. Yep. And I personally like the peak lapel, and I think it's just because I'm a bigger dude. It makes the shoulders look a little bit more broad. It makes the waist look a little bit more tapered. Yeah, I think it just looks a little bit more elegant.
Yeah, which we'll kind of talk about that too as we get deeper into it, about like how to dress your body type, which is a big thing, which we'll have an episode on. But so I didn't mean to throw us off track. No, that's okay. But obviously, so we kind of want to explain to folks as we go what some of these things means to make sense to the simple terms. So a black tuxedo, which obviously that's the satin lapel, black, all of that. On black tie events, and I'm curious where you're at on this. Do you have any other substitutions that you can put in there, or are you pretty much strict black and tuxedo only?
So that's interesting you bring that up, because for me, black tie is like, it's black tie. Like, that's what you wear as a black tux, black bow tie. I only say that because I have a black tuxedo. Sure. Most people don't own a black tuxedo. You can honestly just go rent one from that guy's Secret here in Peoria or LaSalle.
Yeah, and if you're not going to wear it, honestly, the math works out. If you're not going to wear it probably 3 times within a given year, it's probably best just to rent them, because the fact of the matter is you'll stay on style and you'll stay on fit.
Right.
If you're going to wear it often, if you got a lot of events, take the time, buy one.
Yeah.
But more on that later.
For me, black tie is black tuxedo, right? There are things like creative black tie that when I was doing research on this, that have popped up recently, and that's more like the burgundy tuxedos and the navy tuxedos. And, to me, I'm like, that makes sense to me. I guess you could get away with doing like a navy tuxedo, because, sometimes in a lot of lights, navy looks dark.
It does.
Than black.
It looks very dark.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, and I say that because obviously that is traditional black tie.
Right.
And we kind of talked about how our current living situations have kind of muddied the line, so to speak.
Right.
And with these events that say black tie or black tie optional, back to that conversation, I feel like a lot of times you can get away with a dark suit even.
Yeah, black tie optional for sure, yeah.
If it says black tie optional, you can likely get away with a dark suit and not look out of place. Mm-hmm. Now, black tie is still a tuxedo.
Right.
So, at the end of the day, that's the one thing you got to remember. If it says black tie, you're talking tuxedo and a tie.
Yeah.
You're really not having a lot of color. It's absent of color.
The only tie. Okay, so like in my wardrobe, I don't even own a black suit. I don't have a black suit.
I don't either.
I've replaced that with a tuxedo. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's like if I was going to a black tie optional event, that's the one instance where I would say, okay, I'll wear a black suit if I don't own a tux. You know what I mean? Sure. And that, again, if you're not going to wear a tuxedo a bunch, then don't buy one. Buy a black suit. Makes sense.
Makes more sense.
For me, it's like dark charcoal, black suit, maybe a dark navy or something like that. Yeah. But the shirt needs to be white. It needs to be a white shirt.
Yeah. I mean, and the reality of it is it's one of the more boring outfits.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's straight up boring outfit, but that's what they want. They want a very classic look, and that's
very
what it
classic,
is.
elegant kind of, yeah.
If you get black tie and it says black tie specifically, then that is tuxedo. If it says optional, then you can open yourself up a little bit to darker suits with a white shirt and a dark tie.
Yeah.
Very classic, very traditional. Not a lot of time for expression there.
No.
And which is fine, but just understand that. So that's how you can kind of work around those things. So I'd say that's black tie, and black tie optional.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
absolutely.
the two of them right there.
Yeah, I kind of lumped them together.
Yeah, I mean, they really are, because rarely do we actually get events that say black tie. Yeah. They usually say black tie optional.
Yeah. So. And again, that's kind of where we're like you said, black tie is like the most dressed up you'll ever get, really.
Really, in most of our paths that we walk, most of it. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so our next topic.
Next one would be, I would say, is business attire or business formal.
Okay. Yeah.
Which would be, again, as you said, a step down from like the most dressed up you'll get. And the crazy thing to me is that, like, looking at society and look at the way that things have progressed. When I started in the industry, pretty much everybody that came to see me was working, and they had to wear a suit to work.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when I honestly started in my first sales job, it was jacket. Mm-hmm. Jacket required minimum. Yeah. But really, I mean, they wanted a suit. You know.
Yeah. And so business formal it's a suit. You know, it really is. It's a suit. It can be, you know, a little bit more fun than a black suit, obviously, but like grays, navies, a little bit more conservative, I would say.
Yeah, I don't think you're busting out your Paisleys as much on this in this encounter. You know what I mean?
Why not?
I love them. I think they're great. But I think you're really stuck to your solids, as you said, black, gray. You know, it was funny. I was watching this thing from Steve Harvey the other day.
Yeah.
It was on a little riff that he was on, like the Family Feud or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was talking about a black, a brown, a gray, and it was 5 suits that he aims off.
Right.
But they're solid, and they're interchangeable, and that's true, and it really is true. Now, in that business formal world, I feel that you can get into a pinstripe.
Oh, yeah.
You know, some sort of window pane plaid, things like that, you know.
Yep.
To dress your suit up a little bit and kind of give you that little bit of edge, a little bit of style that you might want. But you're sticking to your traditional colors and your traditional prints.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Right. And the other thing, too, with all that is that, like, if you do like a plaid or something like that, or a pinstripe or something like that, like really business formal, technically speaking, is like a white shirt or a light blue, maybe an ivory, Bengal stripe or something like that. You typically don't go real crazy with.
Yeah, I mean, again, this
shirts and stuff.
This is your powder blue whale checks, your as you said, Bengal stripe, your white shirt, your ecru.
Yeah.
Those basic palettes that work with every suit.
Right.
And the reality is it's blue, gray, black.
Blue, gray, and black. Right?
Yeah. Now you can have a little bit of fun with them, but.
Yeah, there's a reason in the 70s IBM made like the Navy suit like part of their uniform.
Yeah. I mean,
it looks great.
It looks great. And it's approachable, but it's also it gives a level of professionalism. Yeah. You know.
So then with all of that being said, like within the business formal aspect, business attire, whatever.
Yeah, business.
You're going to wear a tie with it.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, for me, it's solid tie, neat tie, some sort of like a geometric, or like a club tie or a stripe tie, regimental tie, something like that.
And like this here, like you'll get a lot of these, you know, throwbacks to Great Britain, things like that, you know, if it's a shield or something of that.
Yeah.
And I think all those play in the formal, you know, in the formal world.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just, as I said, it's still a classic look.
Yeah.
It's still a truly classic look. And obviously it also depends on if it's a random Tuesday.
Right.
Or if it's like, I'm closing a huge merger type of deal, you know. You're going to wear a certain outfit, right?
Yeah.
So use your best judgment on that.
Sure.
And also, just popped in my head as we're doing this, but I always think that if you're talking about this, like this is not a like go to your boss and be like, hey, like I'm wearing this because these guys told me to. Yeah. At the end of the day, your boss is your boss. You know what I mean? Right. So we're just trying to give you guidelines here. But yeah, so business formal, suit, basic shirt, and a tie.
And a tie. Like nothing real crazy, but you know. Again, conservative.
Conservative.
But, yeah.
I personally feel at this point in time you can have a little bit of
you can show, you know, nowadays, I know where you're going with this. Yeah. Nowadays, you can show a little bit more personality.
Yeah, a little more expression
and it's
on
okay.
this.
Yeah,
a little bit more expression on this.
You do some more fun socks and stuff like that. You know,
can even do some fun shoes.
Yeah. You know? And if, you know, more like the more traditionalist or classic dressing type of guys are going to be like, oh, you have to your pants have to match your shoes or your pants or your socks or whatever have to all match and whatever. Yeah. You don't have to do any of that. Yeah, you can wear crazy fun socks. Nobody else. That's the way I look at fun socks is that like those socks, that's for me. Yeah. When I sit down, that I'm going to see that. That's the pop of color I want to see. Right. That's going to bring me joy.
It's not something that's going to be everybody notices or anything like that. It's not the first thing people notice. I remember an old general manager of mine was talking about shoes and suits. You know, so you kind of triggered a thought when he said it. But the thought that he said that your shoes always had to be darker than your pants. You know what I mean? So if you wore a tan pair of pants, then you had to make sure your tan shoes or brown shoes were a little darker, and vice versa. Right. You know? So that was you know, that was what classic conservative dress was like. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I don't agree with that any longer, and even in the business attire world, I don't think that's required. No. Now, again, use your best judgment. You know, don't be wearing your white sneakers or something. But you know,
unless you're in a creative, I mean,
we'll kind of get to that in a minute. We'll kind of get to that in a minute. But for business formal, I think you're still wearing dress shoes and stuff like that. So
that brings us to our next dress code, which is business casual. and I sigh because as I stated earlier, the business casual has really, really changed from like when I started in the industry, when I was like 16 years old, 20 years ago. Yeah. It has changed so much since then that it's not even the same thing anymore. You know what I mean?
No, it's really not. And so, yeah, we'll take it back 20 years ago.
You know, what was business casual?
Yeah, what was business casual, right? So this was the best way I've ever heard it explained, and I still use this today. So when you hear the phrase business casual, business comes first.
Right.
Okay? So you're taking business formal and you're reducing it. You're not taking casual and improving it.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is there's some very big distinctions. So the first thing is business casual, you can lose the tie. You know, in old school thinking, you can lose the tie. Mm-hmm. Majority of the time, you're probably still keeping the jacket or a jacket, maybe not that jacket, but a jacket. Now, there are some scenarios where you could lose the jacket, but then you probably need to add the tie back on. Mm-hmm. You're always, no questions, never an option here, no matter what your upper half is, ever wearing denim or jeans.
Oh, my God.
It's not a possible.
I'm so glad that you said that.
Business casual does not mean denim.
No. When I was doing research for all this, I was double checking everything, making sure I had my P's and Q's because, whatever. Of course. There were like 3 or 4 websites that were like business casual, and it had pictures of guys in jeans, and I'm like, what?
It is not business. That is not business casual. There's a category. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
That is not business casual, folks. And I'm sorry you can be upset because, hey, your boss said you can wear business casual to work, blah, 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 whatever. If he says it's okay, that's fine, but it is not by definition business casual.
Polos are not business casual.
Yes, and
like I would even say, I mean, maybe like some short sleeve dress shirts, but some short sleeve dress shirts maybe. Like if it's like an actual dress shirt, right? Like the one I have on, if it has short sleeves, that's a little different. But then you gotta wear a tie with that. I mean, to be totally honest, I would never wear a tie with a short sleeve shirt.
I used to when I had a serving job. It was this. I looked like a city bus driver. It was. It was ridiculous. I'm serving someone, their lunch, and I'm
walking around
wearing a
like
white
Jehovah's Witness,
white shirt and black tie. I'm like, give me a break here. But anyways, at least they didn't make me wear the black vest, which they did for a while.
Oh my!
With the short sleeve shirt, and I was like, come on, guys, this is silly. Like this is weird.
Ridiculous.
This is weird. So, anyways, and I think, to kind of keep the conversation going where we're going. Yeah. You touched on a point which I would say in this given environment, I would probably have to concede to polos and short sleeve shirts. Like I'm wearing today is a short sleeve shirt.
Sure.
Can't see it on right now, but maybe I'll show you in a minute. But the reason why I say that is I always reference banks. I used to go to the bank and the tellers used to wear jackets. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe they didn't have a tie, but they used to wear jackets at least, for Pete's sakes. Now, if I show up to a bank, it's usually khakis. Mm-hmm. It's Jake from State Farm, right?
Yeah.
It's Jake. It's Jake from State. It's khakis and it's a polo, whatever color their polo is. And that's been deemed business casual.
Yeah.
From a classical sense, it's really not correct.
It's not.
You know, that's a sport attire shirt, you know, and then we'll get into that too. It's something we're going to explore between the difference between a sport shirt and a dress shirt, but that's not a today
whole episode.
That's an episode in its own rights.
Yeah.
But so with saying that, like, technically business casual is very business looking minus the tie.
Right. Right.
You know, that's really what a business casual is. Hard and fast rule though, never denim.
No.
Do not get away with denim. Now, never thought I'd have to say this.
Oh no.
So we've had these conversations for years about I've had to do a lot of these dress code things.
Yeah.
And it would always come to the ladies part here and be like, oh, and no leggings and no tights and blah 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 whatever. Yeah. And I'm not saying that guys are going to be looking at that, but the conversation of joggers, okay? And hey, trust me, I push the envelope of dress to the max. Today I'm wearing a sports jacket and shorts. You know what I mean? Like I push it. I don't have a dress code. I can do what I want to do.
Right.
You know, I have my own dress code. I mean, joggers have become a hot item with the recent landscape. And there are some joggers that look like dress pants.
Yeah.
I mean, truly look like dress pants. So I don't know where that is. I don't know where you're at. I don't know what to say about that.
I don't know. I mean, I think that a lot of it for me is going to depend on for joggers. Say joggers has its own thing, which again is a whole nother. That's another episode in itself. Like, but like to me, it's like if it's like the J-Track chinos that we sell here that are like a twill or whatever.
Sure.
I think that's not too bad. I actually worked at a job before I started working here where they were like, you can't wear joggers. I'm like, but they're twill. They're like, can't wear joggers. I'm like, they look like khakis. Like, can't wear them. I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah, and I guess that would be my answer is if you're wearing so joggers for me in the late 90s, early 2000s were sweatbands.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's still where my mind goes.
Like a fleece, a fleece heavy duty, something I wore to and from practice, to keep warm in the winter.
Right. Right.
That's when someone says jogger, that's my instant reaction.
Right.
Now, obviously, being in this business, my mind has changed on that, and I own some of those chinos, and they have the side pockets, and they look like it.
It's more. It's joggers really now. It's the cut.
Yeah, it's more the cut than anything else. So, in that sense, if you're really, depending on what job you're in, I mean, if you got business casual, there's sometimes I think you can get away with a jogger.
Right.
Depending on material and depending on the pockets.
I think a lot of it, too, is going to depend on the atmosphere.
Oh, 100%, of course, right? I always think that's important. These are just guidelines.
Yeah.
Use your best judgment when it comes to those situations.
Right. And obviously, Jeremy and I are like, I think the reason that we work really well, especially when we're talking about style and stuff like that, is because you always are a little bit more on the modern side, and I'm a little bit more on the classic side. But I'm getting there.
Yeah,
I'm getting there.
And it's funny because I mean, I used to be strictly classic, and that's kind of where it was. Yeah. But I really embraced it. We've talked about it before. My style, my identity is that kind of modern, like edgy, trying out outfits that most people wouldn't try.
Right.
And I think it's fun. I mean, when you're in my position, it's fun to do that because it raises people's idea of what they can do. Little tiny story, and then we'll move on down our list here. But so back home, I started wearing sports jackets and band T-shirts. I'm a big music dude, big music head.
Yeah.
Love going to concerts, love it. And so that became my look for when I opened this store for, a few years. And then next thing you know, like I'm going out to dinner and I'm seeing people, we live in a community where I live, LaSalle, Peru area. It's only 30,000 people, whatever. But I'd start seeing guys above and below my age demographic wearing that look. Trendsetter, yeah. I'm not 100% sure I am, but I suppose I probably am.
In that community, you probably are. I mean,
it could be.
People know who you are.
Right, people know me, they see me, and they go, oh, that's acceptable. That guy did it, And here's the reality of it. I mean, I'm wearing jeans and a T-shirt with just a jacket. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Phone's ringing.
Yeah, don't worry about that phone. We're sorry. We do work.
We are at work.
We are at
we're
work.
recording in the store. So.
But at the end of the day, I was really comfortable because I'm just wearing jeans and a T-shirt. And then I would, as I said, I just had a jacket on to stay warm. So, but people thought I looked more elevated, a more elevated look.
I mean, it is. It is. You know? It's more elevated than jeans and a T-shirt.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Which
probably leads us to our next category.
Casual. Yeah, it's casual. Like, and you know, for me, like, these are the main ones that most people are going to come across is business, like black tie business casual. Those are the main components of everyday wear. And then we have a couple of other ones that are like newer or have, you know, aren't really they're not in the zeitgeist, I guess. And
as I said, we'll probably cruise those a little quicker because they're not as big of topics. But so casual, when we say the word casual, guys,
it's jeans, man.
It is jeans. You can wear
that's jeans.
You can wear denim at this point. You can wear fun shirts. You can wear cool looking things of that. Whatever you want to wear, you can wear there. Casual doesn't necessarily mean the old Big Johnson T-shirts, or you know what I mean. Remember those from the 90s? It doesn't necessarily mean that. It doesn't necessarily mean offensive clothing.
Right.
That's more gimmicky stuff. I don't know how to say it, but when it says casual, I mean you're still trying to look normal.
I think that like and for me, like there's a layer there between like casual and like business casual, and that's elevated casual, and that's the jeans, T-shirt, and the jacket. And that's, you know, that's kind of, it's casual, but you're adding an element of more formal attire, I should say. Not
and I
formal,
would say almost it kind of kicks one on our next list, smart casual.
Yeah.
Kind of falls in that smart casual where you look a little better than, as I said, just straight up like bumming it around town.
Right. And so basically, like, you mentioned smart casual to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah. And so here's the funny thing is I didn't either years ago. Right. So I'm not currently anymore because of my schedule, but I used to be in Rotary. So Rotary is a huge business thing, you know, and it's a lot of community service stuff. Sure. And so I went to Toronto for like their world seminar. So
like in Canada?
In Canada, eh?
That's cool.
Yeah, it was. And Toronto was really awesome. If you've never been, it was super fun. We had a great time. This was a few years back. So we went up to Toronto for this huge world ceremony. Folks from all over the world come and, you know, we gather together. We talk about charitable things and, you know, just different things. And their thing is smart casual. And I was like, what's smart casual?
Like,
you know? So I had to look it up. And, you know, the quick answer to that is it's comfortable shoes, first and foremost, because there's a lot of walking at those seminars.
Sure.
But it's kind of that business casual.
Okay.
Would be another synonym for it, I would say.
Okay.
Where denim is allowed.
Okay.
Because it's not business casual, because denim's not allowed in business casual. But smart casual, denim's allowed.
Right.
But you still might wear a jacket. You still would wear some sort of collared shirt sometimes. Not always, not required. But as I said, for me, denim, a jacket, and a T-shirt, smart casual.
Okay. So it's almost like that elevated casual sort of a thing.
I would say, I say it almost...
a lot of the pictures I looked up, I was looking up, were like dudes wearing like a suit with a white T-shirt and white sneakers.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, all right, that makes sense to me.
It's the modern, the edgy style,
right?
If you want to, I mean, you can definitely go that way. Like I would say, last week the outfit I was wearing probably would be in the smart casual.
Gotcha.
You know,
sport coat, dress pants, sneakers,
got white sneakers on. You know, like it's fun, it's comfortable, easy to walk in. You know, whatever like that. But you're probably not in some huge meeting wearing that outfit. You know what I mean? You could be. I mean, if you're me, you might be.
Got to close this deal.
Yeah, you might be if you're me. But, you know, for most folks, no. I would say smart casual is like date night attire.
Right.
Almost.
Okay. That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's where that one falls. What else we got over there? What other crazy terms
let me look at my list. Sorry, hold on.
Yeah.
We had a malfunction. Now I'm kind of all thrown off. So another one. So those are kind of like the ones that, you know, the smart casual to me is like not really in the zeitgeist. A lot of people haven't really heard of it.
100% agree.
Another one that is, you know, for me is more goes along the lines of like that classic dress code, but something people don't really talk about anymore is like cocktail attire. People don't really have
nobody has cocktail
parties anymore, which is kind of
a bummer.
sucks.
It's kind of a bummer. I mean,
you know?
That was like the the birth of smoking jackets, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, which are awesome when we sell those still.
Yeah.
I mean, I love cocktail attire.
Yeah, me too.
And you're right, it doesn't get talked about enough. Now, I will say one thing that has happened in some of our weddings with, again, recent landscape of the world that we all live in these days.
Mm-hmm.
Folks have had to cut their guest list down.
Yeah.
And so they've went to these like micro weddings, and they, for lack of a better term, they've kind of went extra.
Yeah.
On it, you know what I
Sure.
mean? Like, well, I don't have to invite 300 people anymore.
I only have
50 people.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to do it up real big.
Yeah.
And so what we've seen in some cases is the groom will wear a black tie for the ceremony, get all the wedding pictures, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
And then for the cocktail hour or the reception part of it, he'll switch outfits, which brides have been doing this for years, guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the brides have been doing this for years. They have 2 outfits they wear on their wedding day.
Right.
It's starting to do that with gentlemen now.
Right.
Where you can wear a very formal event, very formal outfit, get all your necessaries out of the way,
right,
and then have fun.
Right.
You know. So that's kind of a fun thing. That's kind of where the cocktail attire, I think, would come in. You know, that's going to be your paisley jackets. That's going to be
and you know,
lapels.
Cocktail attire, you know, is usually it's a little bit more. It's, you know, like I would say before dinner, sort of like, you know, they're doing that cocktail hour, happy hour sort of thing, you know, and it's usually colorful and fun and whatever. I love cocktail attire. I think it's, you know, it's always fun. And, you know, I've always been, again, a guy who wears dresses up a lot. And so Alyssa's like, oh, we're going to this thing or whatever, happy hour. And I'm like, cool. And I'm like, I'm like, all right, cool. And everyone's like, why are you wearing a suit? And I'm like, but I have a boutonniere and a crazy tie. And,
right. Like I didn't,
like, what are you talking about?
Like, I don't know. I thought that's what we were
doing.
I
thought it was a cocktail thing. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we get a lot of cocktail hours around here that people show up in T-shirts and shorts.
Yeah,
which is whatever. I mean, it's fine. But I mean, truly, cocktail attire would be a fun outfit.
Yeah,
you know, fun attire.
Another one that people don't really talk about or seem to remember or whatever is like evening attire. And when I say evening attire, I don't mean like. What I mean is like. Back in the 50s and 60s, and even sometimes still in the 70s, but like mainly in the 50s and 60s, when you would go to like a dinner party or you would go to a restaurant, it was like an ivory dinner jacket, black tux pants, black bow tie. That's what they would wear to dinner. Like, you just wear that to dinner. It's a dinner attire.
Right.
And just like on a Tuesday, you would just be like, oh, we're going to dinner. Okay, let me go change. And you go put on like your ivory dinner jacket and a bow tie. And it's like, what?
I love that. I kind of wish that was still a thing.
Me too.
It would be fun. I would wear it.
They still do that on like cruises and stuff like that.
They do on cruises. And that's, I was going to say, if you go on a cruise, you would see this look. Yeah, when you say evening town, though, my first thought is like jammies. Like, you're talking about like my jammies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. That's what it is now.
No, that's
like,
what it is, right?
I'm going to have dinner. I better put on my sweats.
Put on my sweats and my tee. But that'd be great, though, to see people walking around. And I think folks now think of them as servers, waiters, something like that.
Yeah.
Kind of like that attire almost is what it was.
And that's kind of where it stemmed from, you know, like everybody back in the 60s, when you went to dinner, you went to a restaurant or you had a dinner party or something like that, people showed up and they wore an ivory dinner jacket, like almost every single time.
It was a thing. It was an event.
Everybody wore that.
Which is something to talk about. We're not going to get way off.
Yeah.
But dinners used to be the event.
Yes.
It never used to be dinner and a movie.
Right.
It was dinner.
It was, we're going to go to dinner.
And it was a couple-hour process.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
Completely different topic.
Now it's like, McDonald's.
Yeah, let's
go to Macca's.
Let's grab something.
Yeah, let's go get a McChicken.
Grab some Popeyes.
Another one a lot of people don't really talk about or know anything about is morning dress.
Morning dress, yeah.
Morning dress.
I saw those notes, and I don't know if I know that one.
Okay, so morning dress is where you would wear like a stroller suit, is what they classify it as. Stroller suit is a dark jacket. Usually it's a charcoal. You can get them in black, sometimes in navy. Okay. And it is a cutaway jacket. And so it's going to have a peak lapel, like we talked about before, one button, and then the back of the jacket is going to be knee length. It's not like a tails.
Okay.
But it kind of slowly, gradually goes to that length.
Oh, that's fun.
And then the pants are usually like some sort of like a striped pant, not like a pinstripe pant, but like there's a specific morning dress stroller suit pant that goes with it.
All right.
I'll post pictures and I'll show you some pictures when we get off the air.
When are folks wearing this?
So morning dress is specifically designated for some sort of a formal morning event, and it's usually for like a morning wedding.
Okay.
Yeah. So like if you're doing like a morning wedding at like the Vineyard or something like that, or you're going to like a morning event, like meeting the Queen during a morning bruncheon or something like that, that's what you're going to wear. And it's like, and you're either wearing like a silver wedding tie, quote unquote wedding tie, which is just like a silver neckwear, silver tie or something like that. Or you're wearing a royal ascot, like a full on royal, like not like in the shirt, like there's a specific way you have to tie it.
Oh, okay.
Ascot. Sometimes a top hat, not always. Spats on the shoes, like it's a thing, man. It's a thing.
It's a look.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and it's mainly like in England or whatever.
Of course.
But you know, there are a few guys that I follow on Instagram and stuff like that, and they'll post occasionally in their morning dress, and I'm just like, that's kind of a cool look.
I love it. I think it sounds fun. I mean, I like to wear crazy stuff. Anyways. I just don't know that I'm ever awake early enough to wear this outfit.
See, that's where you and I differ. I'm usually up at like 4 a.m.
Right, you'd have plenty of time. Get up, get dressed, go to your morning.
Another one that we talked about a little bit, which is the most formal, which is white tie, and you're never going to wear that. Nobody's ever going to wear it. I do have tails in a white. I do have a full white tie outfit, which.
And I technically think we have one in our book that
we
could rent.
We have 2 of them.
We have 2 different options. I mean, if someone really did need it, but
So I'll kind of break down like what white tie is essentially. So white tie is like it's when you think of like I got to wear a penguin suit. That's usually what you think of. Yeah. It's like a conductor or something like that. Black tails jacket, which is going to be cut at the waist, much natural waist.
Much shorter than a lot of other.
And then the back will go down to like about that knee length or so.
Yep.
And then the vest. So this is where it like really differs from any other sort of like tuxedo or anything like that. The vest and the bow tie and the shirt traditionally are a white piqué.
Yes.
Which is a texture. It's a texture. It's kind of like when you think like piqué polo or something like that. It's
kind of like
sort
a
of
woven,
like that. Yeah. It's got a really coarse texture.
You can really feel the texture.
And you're gonna have like a wing collar shirt on, but it's gonna be a white bow tie piqué, white shirt piqué typically, and then a white piqué vest.
Yeah.
And then patent leathers and the whole tux pants and all that other stuff, which again, you're never gonna, unless you're meeting the Queen or you're going to like the opera as a conductor or something. If you're an orchestra conductor, then absolutely.
And you'll see pictures. You'll see pictures of these, as you said, meeting the Queen, anything of that, the royalty-esque thing.
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll see them pictured with the hat, the white hat.
Yeah.
A cane sometimes and things of that nature. You'll see them pictured.
Yeah.
Again, in my 40 years, I've never ever been close to ever being invited to an event where I needed this. You know what I mean? Ever.
I can honestly say I have.
Yeah, okay. I have not.
Which is why I own said attire.
I have worn tuxedos with tails, but it was not white tie formal. It was an abbreviation of the black tie, white tie combo.
Were you at prom and wearing the white tails?
I wish. I did wear a white tuxedo jacket to prom. Of course I did, right?
Oh, man.
It was actually, I was a small child, and it was a wedding that I was in, and so I had to wear like a black tails.
Okay.
But it was with a black vest and a black tie.
Okay.
So it was a black tie event, essentially.
Sure.
But with tails. So it was a little weird. But.
So those are I think that's kind of like, that's where we kind of like wrap it up. I mean, that's the main gist of like what dress codes and stuff like that are. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, or we missed something, make sure you reach out to us. I'll link and list our email down in the description and stuff like that. And you can find us on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on all those things. Check out our website, thatguysecret.com.
Of course.
Join us next week for another episode. I think next week we should talk about like style rules. quote unquote style rules.
Style rules.
Yeah.
Huh? I'm curious to even know what that encompasses.
Oh man, that's gonna be a long episode. I think. Yeah. I got a list.
Got a list of rules, and since we are wrapping up, and I kind of last week alluded to it that each week I'd probably ask you something off the cuff here that you're not expecting.
Oh boy.
So last week it was about the shoes, and we decided the one pair of shoes. You know, it was 10 pair of shoes, things like that. So my question this week: if I tell you can only buy one color of pants.
Oh, fudge.
What color do you feel like you're going to go with that's going to give you the most flexibility for your wardrobe?
Khaki.
Khaki pants, huh?
I happen to be wearing khaki pants today. And the reason being is because with a khaki pant, you can wear that with literally, if we're talking about like formal wear, literally any jacket. Like I say formal wear in like suits or whatever, sport coats.
Yeah, sports jackets.
Like right now, today I'm like, another thing I wanted to bring up to you was like, we should like do a rundown of like our outfits that we're wearing now. So I guess I'll go into that right now. Like I'm wearing a traditional, like I'm more on the classic preppy side today than I, not always am, but I am today. So I've got like, full cut khaki pant with a big ass cuff on it.
2-inch cuff, it looks like.
Yeah. Navy blazer. This blazer is probably older than Gavin is. I mean, this thing's old.
That's not hard. I mean, but I saw him walk by.
Yeah. And then so with the khaki pant, you can wear it with a navy blazer. You can wear it with a gray. You can wear it with a plaid jacket. You can wear it with a black jacket. You can wear it with a brown jacket. I mean, it literally goes with it. It is the quintessential neutral pant in my mind.
Okay.
Same thing with like if you're looking at like chinos or something like that. Get a khaki chino, and khaki is the color, like not the style of pant.
Yeah, so that's I say that's probably a British khaki. Is the color.
Yeah. British khaki,
traditional color, British khaki.
And that's another one of those things that like has gotten kind of muddled over the years.
The word Dockers,
and all that stuff. I'm gonna get some khakis, and then you look at Dockers, big pleated Dockers or whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the color.
The color khaki, and it can be in a lot of different pant formats, which we'll talk about that too. Is about the sport shirts and dress shirts. Right. There's chinos, there's 5 pockets, all that stuff. But anyway, so we'll talk about. So khaki is your color. That's the color you would stick with.
Yeah,
that's interesting. And I don't actually own a pair of khaki pants. Yeah, but that goes back to the way we dress. A different modern to classic style.
Well, and it's like I get that but I also have like a pair of slim fit chinos that I wear with like a t-shirt and a jacket, or like t-shirt and a sports shirt or something like that. Like I dress it down a little while every once in a while.
I would say gray pants though.
Gray pants.
That would have been that would be mine. Like you told me I can only get one.
That's my number 2.
Would be gray.
Khaki gray.
For me, gray is the same exact thing he said about khaki. Same reason. Yeah. Talking about outfits though, real quick.
Yes.
Before we leave. Today I am wearing 7 Diamond mostly. Mm-hmm. So I got the 7 Diamond shorts on, which are like a hybrid material, awesome, moisture wicking. Yeah. You guys will realize that's a big thing in the heat. Yep. 7 Diamond short sleeve shirt. Mm-hmm. I got just a traditional sports jacket, 100% linen.
Yep.
Tidbit. I know Aaron loves talking about linen.
I love linen.
I'll feed it right in there for
Love linen.
Loves linen. Here's the reality of it, guys. You look at Aaron's jacket. I know some of you listen, you won't be able to look at it, but
it's a navy worsted wool. It's 100% wool.
It looks clean. There's no wrinkles. Everything like that. I'm wearing 100% linen. Yeah. The reality of it is linen gets wrinkly.
It's a casual fabric.
Yeah, and it's okay.
People forget that.
It's okay that it gets wrinkly, guys. Don't panic. That's the way it's supposed to look.
I think it looks better when it's a little bit rumpled, it's a little bit wrinkled, it's a little bit worn in. I think it gives it a little bit more life.
It gives it life, So I mean, don't overthink it. If you get a linen jacket or a linen whatever, you're going to get wrinkles throughout the day.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to happen. It's just going to be reality. It's fine. Yeah. Tally orange linen jacket. Yep. Johnson & Murphy collection shoes.
Those are the McGuffies, right?
Yeah, they are the McGuffies. They got like little tiny skulls in them.
So
I love skulls.
I know you do, and I love that you brought that up. So like my full outfit, like I've got like these full cut khaki colored like they're chinos, but they're a full cut with a 2-inch cuff, navy blazer. Again, more of like on the classic side. I got a cool Glen check shirt. This shirt is like one of the first shirts I ever bought when I worked at Joseph A. Bank. Still great shirt. My tie is a club style regimental tie, but it's got skull and crossbones on it.
I see this. I couldn't see him until now. I really couldn't. I love it. I'm excited.
It's got skull and crossbones on it. And then I've got like my Allen Edmonds on. Again, these are the first big boy shoes I ever bought.
There you go.
They were like $400 shoes. But again,
you buy quality, it'll last.
They'll last you 20 years. And then to kind of bring it all down a little bit, I've got a lapel pin that says "fuck it." So
I did see that, and I love that pin. I'm honestly kind of bummed out that I don't have a lapel pin that says "fuck it," but he always has, and I'm always an envy of it. So yeah, that's kind of the looks. You know, like obviously I said, a little more modern on the casual side.
Yeah, like I said, you're a little bit more modern. I'm always a little bit more classically dressed. I'm kind of,
yeah. I said, and it looks great. I love both outfits. I think they both look great. Obviously, I say this with all sincerity. I honestly, aside from events that I go to, don't know when I could tell our listeners that they could wear shorts and a sports jacket. Because
business casual. It's business casual.
I don't think you're going to get away with it.
It's not business casual. Don't do that, guys.
You gotta have your legs covered for it to be business.
I'd say it is smart casual. I would say it's smart casual.
It is. It's 100% my look.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's kind of where we're at. Obviously, we'll keep doing some crazy outfits and stuff like that. Next week, it sounds like style rules. Yeah. Style rules.
Yeah. I'll get you the outline. You'll be like, oh, that makes sense.
Which I'm gonna speculate without having discussed this off air. I'm gonna speculate that we're gonna be talking about certain ways to wear things and things you can and cannot do.
Yeah.
In the style world.
Yeah. And how that's changed. Right. A lot of that's changed.
Yeah. I mean, sneak peek. Wearing mixed prints.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into that next week. Otherwise, I think I'm good for the day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll let you
send
us on out of here and call it a day.
Thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode of Style Sessions. My name is Aaron Selburg. That is Jeremy Reed. Please join us again next week for a brand new episode and visit thatguysecret.com for more information. Thank you again for joining us and have a great week.